Good evening and welcome to the 2020 Hillsborough County Charter Review Board meeting for the month of July. This special called meeting, and we are going to start off today with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very different Pledge of Allegiance. We're not in the same room together. Thank you all for still standing. All right. The Charter Review Board welcomes comments from citizens about any issues or concerns. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing input to the board members. However, it is requested at the same time when you address the board that comments that are not directed personally, but rather directed just at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between the board members and the public. So tonight, we do have several online comments. They have been shared electronically with the membership, but I'm going to go ahead and read these comments as well. So bear with me before we go to the phone to hear from those who have called in. The first submission that we have tonight is from Ms. Kathleen Betancourt, and I will not read any personal information, but I'll just say her comments. This is a terrible time to bring up this subject.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Ms. Stewart apparently does not have audio. She's not hearing you.
One moment.
This is James. This is James. I will send her an email offline to let her know to unmute her microphones, and maybe that and try to help guide her on how she can hear us.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
No problem. Again, this is from Kathleen Betancourt. This is a terrible time to bring up this subject, especially considering all the front burner issues facing our community and nation. Please assign the issue to the back burner where it belongs. If you feel compelled to approve one of the two alternatives, please support the multi-member, single-member combo. This gives the petitioner a chance. It would be a big mistake to have a board of all single-member districts. An average citizen wouldn't have a chance, practically no influence. To go all single-member districts would turn over decision-making to big money special interests, not good for the regular person. Thank you. Obviously, this is in reference to tonight, our discussion of single-member districts.
The meeting starts.
The second comment that we have here is from Ms. Idalia Phillips, and it says, the League of Women's Voters Statement on the Charter Review Board's proposal on redistricting. That is all I have here in the comments that Ms. Cardenas has set up, but I think she can forward that as well if we have it. The next comment is from Ms. Sandra Sroka. Please forgive me if I've mispronounced this. Also in reference to our topicing of redistricting tonight. I listened to your July 7th meeting with great concern regarding the issue of redistricting and altering the structure and number of districts. This issue has surfaced in the past at a time when the CRB had more time to research and study the ramifications of any decision they made. It is beyond my comprehension as to why this is being considered now, when there has been no study to the impact on the county's budget during this time of COVID spending needs, providing almost no opportunity for thoughtful public input and discourse, which begs the question of transparency on the part of the CRB and having the CRB consider one option, which actually leads to less representation for each county voter. I currently am able to elect and have representation through 4 commissioners versus the proposal for 9 single-member districts. Please reconsider putting forth any proposal at this time and at least wait until 2022 after the census is complete. We will be involved in a redistricting exercise. The next is from Debbie Gitmer. This says, do not change to a 9-member system. I believe the 9 single-member plan will be less responsive to citizens and give us less overall representation. The 7-member district plan is working and more representative to us. The 9 single-member system will marginalize and balkanize our community and is not needed given the population we have. The plan has not been fully debated and is being rushed through. The next comment is from Ms. Nina Tatlock. I want to leave a comment against going to single-member districts. I feel that this will suppress my and all constituent votes in the county I support either the current 3-4 structure or increasing this to a 4-5 structure to accommodate a growing population. We need to preserve the rights of voters throughout the county to cast their votes for a majority of the Board of County Commissioners. Please vote no on single member districts. The next is from Kathy Cam. I am unable to attend the upcoming meeting, so I write to let the CRB know that if changes are going to be made to the BOCC districts, I support increasing BOCC districts to 9 with 5 single member districts and 4 all county districts in order to ensure that the public gains a greater influence via their voting power. I strongly oppose moving to all single member districts where there are no voices for the county as a whole. And Ms. Cardenas, that's all I have here. Is that all that we have from written public comment?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. That's all we have in writing.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving right along, Mr. Brewer has informed us that we have several people.
I've done that, but I still can't hear anybody.
Ms. Stewart, we can hear you.
So Edith, you're.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We do have some folks on the line that are here to speak on behalf. They have 3 minutes to speak on behalf of this issue here tonight. Mr. Brewer, if you don't mind opening up the line. The first person that we have to speak is Mr. Ryan Barak. Mr. Barak, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Barak. I'm a resident of Hillsborough County and a civil rights lawyer. I'm still waiting to hear from staff regarding the special set item of a civil service system that I believe we were supposed to be talking about at some point. Today, I'm speaking in opposition to the creation of new Board of County Commissioner seats. The creation of new seats will violate the Voting Rights Act because it will reduce the power of African-American voters. There is no reason to believe that the new districts would be done in a way that would honor the obligations to fully and accurately represent the voices of all members of the Hillsborough County community. Rather, new seats will lead to further gerrymandering. The creation of these new seats are being done with the specific goal of disenfranchising African-American voters. If you do this, there will be litigation under the Voting Rights Act because you are inviting further discrimination. Honor John Lewis. Do not do this. The creation of new seats will also lead to more gridlock at the BOCC because to accomplish anything, it will be necessary to convince another person to do something. As noted, this will lead to further gridlock. In addition, the expenses from 2 additional commissioners is not only their $100,000 each salary, but also their personal staff. Further, there will be additional staff time dedicated to briefing them for every meeting. Some have suggested that the creation of these new seats will result in better constituent services. I have personally never had an issue with contacting BOCC members or their staff, nor have I ever had an issue with them not being willing to listen to my concerns. They often don't do what I want them to do, but I've never had a problem with them or with any commissioner or their staff not being available. I want to note that it appears that expanding the BOCC really only benefits the political consultants and lobbyists. Expanding the BOCC will lead to more work for them because there will be more down-ballot politicians and more down-ballot political campaigns to run. So that will lead to the lobbyists having more opportunities to build their clients to run campaigns and more opportunities to build their clients for time spent meeting with commissioners and their staffs to try and convince them to do something or block something. Lobbyists benefit, citizens don't. To be clear, I'm opposed to the creation of any new seats, but if you must put that issue before the voters, I urge you not to go with the 9 single-member districts, as that would make all of the above detailed items even worse. Thank you for your attention this afternoon.
Thank you. Next up, we have Ms. Ione Townsend. Ms. Townsend, you have 3 minutes.
Ms. Townsend did
Chairman,
not.
Ms. Townsend did not call in.
Okay, just the ones in blue? Got it. Okay, we have Mr. Bruce Shepard.
Hello, my name is Dr. Bruce Shepard. I'm a retired physician and resident and voter in Hillsborough County for 40 years. I appreciate the attention of the board. I'm opposed to any alteration in the configuration of the Board of County Commissioners. Particularly, I disagree with the idea of 9 independent commissioners running as independent single district commissioners. I do think that the current model is better for several reasons. Number one, I think when you add more districts, you play more into the hands of special interests and power brokers, as has been mentioned. Secondly, I think it tends to balkanize an already complex process and makes it difficult to further deal with the business at hand. I just don't think we have enough time to educate the community about the professed benefits of increasing the board between now and November. So as a physician, I would follow the motto, first do no harm. I speak in opposition to this change, either in the configuration to individual district pieces or to increasing the board. I prefer to stay 3-4 as it stands now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. Next, we have Ms. Angela Birdsong. Ms. Birdsong, you're recognized.
Thank you. I stand in opposition to changing the board in any way. First of all, there was no mention of changing the makeup of the board until 2018, when it was clear the board would be going majority Democrat. Also, with a 9-member seat board, I would lose my voting power. I vote for 4 seats now. Why do I want to vote for just 1 seat? With the 4-5 split, how can anyone vote on this when they haven't seen a map? So I don't even know what we would be voting for. And finally, this is an awful time to get your voters to focus on what's going on when we're in the middle of a global pandemic and there's unrest in the streets. People are distracted. So I'm wondering why you would want to do something like that at this time. So once again, I stand in opposition to changing the board in any way at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Birdsong. Next, we have Mr. Scott Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, you're recognized.
Mr. Hoffman disconnected from the call, sir.
Next, we have Ms. Idalia Phillips. Ms. Phillips, you're recognized.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Idalia Phillips, President of the League of Women Voters of Hillsborough County. The League of Women Voters strongly opposes proposals very recently discussed by the Hillsborough Charter Review Board that could dramatically impact the manner in which voters elect members of the County Commission. Most voters are probably not aware that the Charter Review Board has the authority to send this profound recommendation directly to the Supervisor of Elections to be placed on the November general election ballot. Although there has been no public discussion regarding altering the current 7-member board, the CRB is moving forward. One of the proposals would call for 9 single-member districts, and the other would create 9 districts made up of 5 single districts and 4 countywide. The League believes that any proposal that changes our elected districts so substantially should be discussed, vetted, and subject to maximum public input. The CRB meeting to determine which of these new ideas would gain the 10 necessary votes is being held tonight. The irony is that rushed public hearings would be held following that meeting or this meeting on August 4th and 17th. The League believes that this is not an appropriate time to alter our basic form of county government. There is no compelling reason to raise the issue now. Our residents are currently grappling with the serious COVID-19 crisis, considerations of school opening, civil justice reform concerns, and budget considerations. There are meaningful concerns regarding county commission districts. Rushing to place a referendum on the ballot at this time is most unfair to our residents and voters. A better and more thoughtful time frame to permit consideration and debate of this important issue would be the election in 2022. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. All right. Did we have anyone on the line that I may have missed, Mr. Brewer?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much. That is going to be the end of our public comment until the end of the meeting here tonight. I wanted to start off by thanking everybody for being here tonight. We have pretty much a full house. Just wanted to start off by acknowledging some confusion that I may have caused at the last meeting, which is why I'm going to ask Mary Helen to kind of reiterate the process before we get into discussion of the issues tonight. A couple of things that have come up that I want to make the entire board aware of is that our last meeting, we selected July 17th as the date for a second public meeting hearing if we were to have one based on any proposal that were to move forward tonight. We found out from the county that there is a conflict with them being able to televise that meeting. So at some point tonight, we will have to look at another date in the week of August the 10th if we are to move any of these proposals forward. So just FYI that that is a bad, the second date that we selected would be a bad date, excuse me, August 17th, I meant to say July. So just wanted to put that out there. Another point of clarity before we get into the motions to approve the minutes is that if neither of the resolutions pass tonight, there would not be a need for any public meetings, the ones that we have scheduled. I think there was a question to our liaison, and I wanted to make that clear as well, that we wouldn't have to have those meetings. It'll be up to us to determine if we move forward with our normally scheduled August 4th meeting, and we can address that during new business tonight. And then finally, as we get into debate, because I know this is a very tough subject for us to tackle, we're going to go back to Robert's rules, which means that everyone on this board will have 2 opportunities, and just 2 to speak on each proposal. That way we're not here, you know, until midnight tonight, because we should end with a good time. I see Commissioner Miller, who's joined us, kind of smiling. And I think I know why he's smiling, but I'll let him talk about that if you'd like. So those are my comments, my opening comments for tonight. At this time, hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting. Is there a motion for approval?
Hey, Mr. Chair, can I make a correction to the minutes? This is Sean Shaw.
Yes, Mr. Shaw, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm looking at, this is a slight correction on the top of page 3. On the second line, it says at a request from Mr. Shaw, Mr. Johnson, so on and so forth. I would ask that at a request from Mr. Shaw be deleted. I don't think that I requested such a motion for 9 single member districts. I want to be clear about that.
Okay. So are you moving that we amend the minutes to reflect that?
Yes, I would move that we amend the minutes to reflect that. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Dr. Fox. Are we ready for the question, for the approval?
I have an amendment also.
Dr. Fox, the floor is yours.
Yes, on that same page towards the bottom, there's just a little bit of confusion in the paragraph that says after Mr. Shaw requested clarification on emergency authority. Down where it says Mr. Scarola made that motion for a special meeting. It's kind of jumbled up there with the August 4th and July 21st. I think if we just insert Mr. Scarola made the motion for the July 21st special meeting, seconded by Dr. Fox, and then that next sentence is not necessary because his motion is actually in the next paragraph.
Does the clerk, you've heard those changes. Any other unreadiness before we move forward?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Jamie Scarola, you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Scarola, the floor is yours.
Yeah, this is minor, it's a typo, but I think we ought to correct it. On my page 3, second paragraph down, I'm not looking at it, but I think it's the top line or the second line of that second paragraph down. The word court submitted to the court is utilized, and I think the word should be board.
It's probably an error of comment. Got it. I see it.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other members with any corrections to the minutes? Okay. We have a motion for approval from Mr. Shaw. It was seconded by Dr. Fox with corrections. Are you ready for the vote? All in favor of approval by the minutes of July 7, 2020 by sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much. All right. In lieu of time, and this may not be reflected on your agenda, at the last meeting, it was asked that our county commission chair, Mr. Miller, come in and briefly speak to us about the minority access seat and some of his concerns about the board makeup. And so he has kindly, after a very tough meeting this morning about the EPG, given of his time to be with us tonight to kind of share some of his thoughts and opinions. So I'm going to yield to our county commission chair, Les Miller, to speak to us on those issues for a moment. Commissioner Miller, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Mr. Chair, esteemed members of the Charter Review Board, let me say good evening to you. First and foremost, let me thank you for serving on this board. I know they pay you big bucks to do this, and you get a stipend also for travel. But no, I'm just kidding. But let me thank you for your service. This takes time away from your families and away from other things that you could be doing, but you're dedicating your time and service to this county, and that's to be commended. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you doing this. I did not know exactly where you wanted me to start on this concerning reapportionment or redistricting. In the legislature, we call it reapportionment. Here, we call it redistricting, but it's the same thing. You just don't want to see how it's done. So I'm here to bring you a brief synopsis of where I was on this and give you some statistical analysis, I guess. And if I'm giving you too much, please let me know. You had a caller that called in and said that this was never discussed until 2016 or 2018 elections. That is not true. I brought this subject up, and Ms. Farris can tell you, the first time in 2011, after I was elected to the county commission, concerning single-member districts of the county commission in Hillsborough County. It didn't go anywhere at that time, and then I was asked to bring it back again in 2013. I brought it back in 2013 and was thought I had the votes to do something there, and then did not go anywhere then. So this is not the first time this was brought forth. I brought it first time in 2011. And let me tell you why I did that.
Yes.
Hillsborough County.
Hello.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Somebody say something, Mr. Chairman?
No, Commissioner, you're fine. Ms. Stewart's.
Okay. All right. The reason I did this is because I started looking back in history of where we were in Hillsborough County, and then compared to other counties throughout this country. And I served in a single-member district body. I think your chairman did, and Mr. Shaw also served in a single-member body. District body, and realized that even though we were singing, it was a state legislature, we were single-member districts, it did not stop us from doing the job we had to do to look across the state and across this county, even though we were representing small portions of the county, to get the job done for the entire county. So I know that the same thing could have been done in the county commission. I guess maybe you've seen this already, back in 1980, the census of Hillsborough County was 646,960 folks in this county. The body that we have now, the current system that we have in Hillsborough County with the 4 single-member districts and 3 at large, was in 1983. And that was after there was some incidents in Hillsborough County that the board decided that they would go with a 4-3 plan. And that was 37 years ago. 37 years ago. In 2019, it's estimated that our population in Hillsborough County right now is 1,471,968 people. That's 2.5 times size the county in the 39 years that this county has grown. In 1980, the population of the three cities in Hillsborough County, being Tampa, Temple Terrace, and Plant City, was 29,738 people. Today, the city of Tampa has 392,890 folks. Plant City has 39,744, and Temple Terrace has 25,654. That indicates that in unincorporated Hillsborough County, there's 1,013,068 people. 1,013,068. That's a lot of folks in unincorporated Hillsborough County. In 1983, a single-member district commissioner represented 161,740 people. And today, a single-member district commissioner represents 367,992. Let me talk about a little bit where we are, and you've probably seen some of the statistics. Miami-Dade has 2,716,000 plus people. They have 13 single-member districts. They represent 208,995 people. Broward has 1,952,778. They have 9 single-member districts. They represent 216,975. Palm Beach has 1,496,770. They have 7 single-member districts, 213,824,000 that each member represents. Orange County has 1,393,542. They have 6 single-member districts, but they also have a county mayor there. Each one represents 232,242. In Hillsborough County, 1,471,968. We have 3 at-large, 4 single-member districts. Each one of those 4 single-member district folks represents 367,992. Extremely, extremely large single-member districts. Now, let me tell you this. The Bureau of Economic and Business Research predicts that in 2020, and that will be, the census will be done by that time, that Hillsborough County have 1,556,500 people. If we continue with the 3 at-large, 4 single-member districts, that means each single-member district member will represent 389,125,000. If you go to 7 single-member districts with that same number, that drops to 222,357,000. If you have the 9 single-member districts, it drops to 172,944. That's large single-member districts if we leave it the way it is, extremely large. And I can tell you, serving in the single-member districts and trying to hit this county and do what I used to call kitchen cabinet meetings, we finally stopped calling them kitchen cabinets because people thought we were bringing out kitchen cabinets for sure. We started having our town hall meetings, and this county and this district I had was extremely large. If people don't know about my district, I'm going to paint a box for you for District 3, which is a district that is under the voters' rights and can't be deviated at all. If I'm right, Ms. Farris, can't be deviated. This district has 40% African-American, minority African-American within it. The northern part of my district is Bears Avenue. The southern part is down to Riverview. The western part is Howard Avenue, except when you get over to Carver City and Lincoln Garden, it does go further north, further west that way. And the eastern boundary is I-275. I'm sorry, I-75, out near the Brandon area. This is a large district. I have one of the smallest ones in area-wise because it's compact, because I have a vast majority of the city of Tampa. When you start looking at District 1 and District 4, I believe, it is huge area-wise. So it is very difficult sometimes to try to meet the needs of hitting everyone, and not everyone, but trying to get to your constituents. Let me talk about District 3. District 3 has a history going back to 1983 or 82, if I'm not mistaken, when we had the late Reuben Padgett was the first African-American elected to the county commission. We had one that was appointed. That was E.L. Bain, but he was appointed to the county commission. Reuben Padgett, if I'm not mistaken, was elected to the county commission. This district has been represented by African Americans since 1982. It gave us access at a time we never had access before, and it has served well in this county. This district has to maintain 40% minority. It can't be deviated in any kind of way. I think it would violate the Voters' Rights Act. So when you're looking at, even if you go to a single member district where you have 7 or 9, you must remember that this district can't be deviated from the percentage that it is. It just cannot happen. So it have to remain at this number, even though right now the population of Hillsborough County for African Americans is about 20%. But let me give you another number. Hispanic population in Hillsborough County is 29%. 29. And there are no Hispanics on the Hillsborough County Commission, which sets a tone as to there might be something called taxation without representation if you go back to the history books. So that's something you have to look at. But as far as District 3 goes, the history of this district is to maintain that you got to have a district where an African American can be elected, and that is District 3. So regardless of you go to 7 single member districts or you go to 9 single member districts or whatever the case may be, you've got to maintain District 3 the way it is now. So looking at this from back in history from 2011, I saw where Hillsborough County was growing. I saw how fast it was growing, and saw the numbers that was going to be off the chain when it came to the single member districts in this county, and there was just too many. It's too large for single member districts. It needs to be shrinked at some point. When you start talking about at-large districts, a county commissioner represents at-large at 1.4, 1.5 million people. How do they meet their constituency? It's often difficult. And I can tell you right now that I've served in this district for 10 years going in this November. Not at one time did I not look at the entire county when I was making decisions, not for District 3, but the entire county. And the reason being is because it says I'm a Hillsborough County Commissioner. I just happen to be elected from District 3. And that's the way it has to be done, and that's the way it has to be looked at. So when I see issues, I'm not just saying, okay, I'm going to make sure that this issue passes, this issue does not pass because it doesn't benefit District 3. I have to look at the entire county. So, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to bring that forth and let you know where we are on that. Again, the first time I brought this forth was in 2011. The second time was in 2013. So I wanted to give you the facts of where we are and what we're looking at and how fast this county is growing and what we'll be looking at in reapportionment after the census is done and when this next Board of County Commissioners start to reapportion itself. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Remarks in your presentation.
I can't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay, I was saying thank you very much for your presentation and your remarks tonight, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to see if there were any questions from members of the board. I see Mr. Johnson's hand. Mr. Johnson, you're recognized for any questions.
I apologize for having my hand up. It was actually going to be for the next item, but since you recognized me, I just want to be able to thank Chairman Miller for all the years of leadership, both in the Florida Senate and here down in Hillsborough County. I've had the pleasure ever since from my first days right out of college, being able to watch then Senator Miller in the Florida Senate and being able to watch the way a thoughtful leader actually works, and then being able to work with him on a more one-on-one basis down at the county commission was definitely something I know that I'm going to be able to value throughout my career. So I'll leave it at that. But thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it.
Mr. Johnson, thank you so very much for your kind words. I appreciate it very much. I remember when you were a young whippersnapper, just getting involved in this, and you served yourself well, and you've worked in the county commission, working with some staff and the county commissioners, and then found other ways to serve your county. So I want to thank you for that. And I've got, after today, 117 days left. So I'm going to turn it over to someone else. I'm going to do whatever I can the next 117 days to make this county a better place for all of us to live, work, and play. So, Mr. Johnson, thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Ms. Yates, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Chairman Miller. I have a question about, we've heard a lot about the increasing population in the county commission and the single district areas. Other than the increase in population, what issues do you have as a commissioner being able to serve your constituents?
I'm sorry, I'm about to lose my VPN. If you all could hold on, let me reconnect because I'm not connected right now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Let me reconnect. Mr. Brewer, hold on. Let me reconnect and come right back if I can.
Gotta love technology.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose it.
I know that Mr. Brewer is working to get Ms. Stewart online with us here.
She is connected now, sir. She can hear the meeting.
Okay.
And anytime, Ms. Stewart, that you would like to speak, just simply unmute the microphone on your computer and we will be able to hear you. And we do see you, Ms. Stewart, so you should be all set.
Wonderful. Mr. Johnson, your hand is up. Is that for the next item?
Yes, sir. Sorry, didn't take it down again.
Okay, Ms. Yates? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, what was your question again, Ms. Yates? I apologize.
Thank you. My question was, other than the growth in population for the single member
You're breaking up, ma'am. I can't understand you for some reason.
Other than the population growth in the single member districts, what issues do you have in serving your constituents?
Could someone repeat the question? She broke up. I can't understand what the question was.
Sure. The question was, other than the population growth, what issues?
Everyone's breaking up on me. I don't know if it's me or what it is.
I think it's the commissioner. We can hear you fine. But the question, if you can hear me, is other than the increasing population, what other issues have you had in serving your commission district?
I think you're talking about issues for some reason. Mr. Brewer, am I having a problem? Is it me or what? Is it a system or what is it, you know?
Yes, sir. I believe it is you. If you want to disconnect completely and then log back in.
Okay, let me do that. Let me do that. Excuse me, y'all. Let me try this again, okay?
Problem. I see a big smile from Representative Figg. I would love to know what you're thinking right now.
Mr. Chair, this is James. I did want to mention there was another public citizen, Ms. Townsend. She was able to call in and she is on the line whenever you want to take public comment. Just wanted to make you aware of that.
Thank you. I think our commissioner is calling in from one of those burner phones. I'm not sure that he has a proper landline service.
Just imagine teaching 35 students online.
So my wife is a public school teacher, which I think most folks know. And yeah, that was pretty interesting this past spring, especially for those students who didn't have access to technology and the daily check-ins that had to be done manually. So I see Commissioner Miller is back with us. Can you hear us, sir?
I can hear you all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I apologize. I'm an old man. Technology gets to me sometimes. Ms. Yates, would you please restate your question? I apologize.
Yes, sir, and welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. I'm struggling with finding a compelling reason for single member districts, other than the only argument I'm hearing basically is that there's a huge growth in the population, which all of us agree with that. I was asking you from either your personal experience or historical or wise, other than the growth in the population, what issues do you have in serving your constituents?
One of the issues I had is trying to get to see as many as I possibly could. Like I said, one of the things I did was trying to have what we call town hall meetings. I said we started off calling them kitchen cabinets, town hall meetings across my district. And the difficult part, besides the day-to-day work I had to do, was trying to meet with those constituents at a time that they could and trying to find places to get there to see them. And I just could not have enough. And I tried to get as many as I could in a year and I just could not do it because the district was so large. And trying to get to Riverview area, trying to get into Progress Village, trying to get into Claramel, trying to get into Palm River, then trying to get into North Tampa, trying to get into the city of Tampa, trying to get into Carver City, Lincoln Garden, trying to get into Wellswood, trying to get into Forest Hills and that area. It just was not enough time today to try to get to a large district like that. And I think that's the other district members on the county commission would probably run into the same things, because I know when they first came on, they want to do all these town hall meetings, and all of a sudden, as the time goes on, you saw them start to decline more and more because you just don't have the time to get to as a bigger district with everyone that you want to get to. So that's a problem. That is a problem. So then I had to depend on the fact that you tell people to email you with the issues that they have. That is a monumental task for staff members. We got so many, because our district had so many issues and so many problems. My staff was bombarded. We were bombarded with the issues that came in from flooding to Palm River. When I first got in there, they did not have running water. Everyone was out there on wells and had some serious problems. It took me almost 6 years to get $18 million to alleviate that problem. It's just that we were so bombarded because we could not get to every person we wanted to get to. So we asked people to email us. That's what you find as a county commissioner with this large districts. They get even larger because you can't get to as many people as you want to get to face-to-face. I'm a face-to-face person. I think most elected officials want to see their constituents face-to-face. We couldn't see as many we want to see face-to-face. And so therefore we had to deal with them through emails and talking to them on the phone. And that to me just was not the way to do it. When you're talking about having 300-some-odd-thousand people in your district, and as large as it is, you just can only get there maybe once a year if you possibly could, sometimes less than that. That's the issues you have.
I appreciate that. I also appreciate your leadership on the EPG. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. For questions or comments, Mr. Spirola, I see your hand, and then Representative Shaw.
Yes, can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Miller, I just wanted to thank you. I took a little bit of a chance at the last meeting because your name was brought up, and I suggested let's invite the commissioner in and hear his experience. And I'm very happy at this point that has occurred, because as I go to lay out my discussions of single-member districts, you reinforced the most important one, and that's our population numbers and our growth. And I'm looking at my notes right now, and your numbers recited were exactly coinciding with where I am on those numbers. And so I just wanted to thank you for taking the time and coming in with the detail. I think it will help the discussions tremendously.
Well, thank you, sir. It's my pleasure to be here. I got the notice that you all wanted to talk to me. There's no way I was not going to be here tonight. Plus, if I had not shown that Mr. Rain was going to kill me.
I'm not a violent person. All right, Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Chair Miller, I appreciate you coming to talk to us this evening. I always like when elected officials start counting the days they have left. That tells me that you're looking forward to it. But I hope I don't know who the right person is for this question, but I want to ask it based on what you said about the Voting Rights Act. Is it true that no matter if we go to 9 single-member districts or if we go to a 5-4 plan, is it true that the ability of an African-American to get elected in any of those scenarios cannot be negatively impacted?
Representative Shaw and Ms. Farris is on here. It is my understanding that if you go to 7 single-member districts, if you go to 9 single-member districts, if you go to a 5-4 plan, or you go to a 5-2 plan, or whatever the case may be, District 3, if that's the number you're going to stay with, cannot be negatively impacted. The percentages must stay the same. And right now, I don't know what that number is again, but the percentages must stay the same. Ms. Farris, are you there?
Yes, and you were correct, Commissioner. Can't have any retrogressive effect.
And this lady's been working with me since 2011. We've gone up and down on this thing, so thank you very much.
We have.
Thanks.
Yes, sir, Representative Shaw.
I don't see anyone else's hands on this issue. Take a look at the board. Okay. Well, Chair Miller, thank you very much for listening to the board and coming out tonight to talk to us and answer our questions. Let me go ahead and also reiterate what's already been said. I mean, I think you are next to maybe Pat Frank, the longest serving elected that we have in this county right now. I think your tenure goes all the way back to the city council in Tampa. So thank you on behalf of this board for coming out tonight, but most importantly, thank you for your service. You're going to leave some big shoes for other people behind.
Well, Representative, thank you very, very much. And again, to this board, thank you for your service. Like I said, you're not getting paid for the service, but you're doing something that makes this county a better place for all of us to live, work, and play. I know you have some tough decisions you have to make tonight. I'm gonna get out your way. So anytime that I can be of assistance to you, whether I'm on this board or not on this board, please call on me. And I wish you all the very best and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we just had a very good presentation and some good questions there for our County Commission Chair. At this time, I want to recognize Mary Helen Farris to kind of just talk again about, very briefly, about what the process is before we jump into the discussion tonight. We are going to take up the proposals in the order that they were voted on at the last meeting, which is the 9 single-member districts option, and then the 5-4 split option. But before we get into that, Ms. Farris, I'm going to yield to you to kind of re-describe what this process would be if either proposal were to go forward tonight.
Absolutely. As I've said in the past, it takes 2 public hearings for the Charter Review Board. At the second one would have to have 10 affirmative votes to send a proposal to the Supervisor of Elections, and August 18th is our targeted deadline. Again, I would remind the board that you can put something on in 2020 and in 2022. The other thing I wanted to mention is that per the charter, any proposed charter amendment has to have a financial impact statement that is prepared by the budget director, which would also appear on the ballot after the question. In 2015, I believe the impact to go to 9 was $700,000 a year. We would have to get that number adjusted, not to say anything good or bad, but that is a requirement. If there is a vote to send one or both proposals to public hearing, that takes a majority vote, but obviously to approve a proposal to go to the supervisor takes 10 affirmative votes. And with that, I'll stop and I'm available for questions.
So Ms. Farris, just for clarification, imagine that a proposal moved forward tonight and we move into the public hearing phase. We are going to have 2 public hearings, and
Correct.
At the second public hearing, what would occur in order for the proposal to move forward? What
It would require 10 affirmative votes on the proposal.
Okay, so we have 2 votes, in essence, the one tonight and the one at the second hearing.
Right. At the first public hearing, if there's any tweaking to the language, that would be a majority vote. These are pretty straightforward proposals. There's not a lot of issues underlying them. So I think that unless there's any changes, then the final vote would be after the second public hearing.
Ms. Bill Laverne, I see your hand. You're recognized.
I'm sorry, was that me you called for?
Yes.
Okay, you broke up. I appreciate that clarification on the second vote, because at the last meeting, it sounded like we would not take another vote. So I helped, but my question now is procedurally on the financial impact. When would that be available? Because I think that given, what's happening with pandemic and everything else, and the decrease in sales tax revenue and everything else, I think for us to put something on there that's going to increase the budget, we would need at some point to know what that financial impact is. So what's the timing on that?
Typically, when we've had a proposal with the Charter Review Board, once a proposal is finalized, the budget director, as they did with the referendum tax proposal when that went on the ballot, would prepare that financial impact statement. If the board would like, I could probably ask for some numbers to see what that number might look like prior to your final vote.
I just think it would be important. Oh, sorry.
You're recognized, Ms. Delaverne, as a follow-up.
I can't tell whether it's on or not. I just think it'd be important for the public hearing for the people to know what that financial impact is going to be, because that would be something they might comment on.
I believe we could provide that information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Fig, you're recognized. I see your hand. We can't hear you, though. We still can't hear you. One more time.
All right, is that work?
Now we got you. Oh. It's like a Saturday Night Live skit right now. Wait, one more. Okay, stay.
All right, I think I'm here.
Now we got you.
A question for Ms. Farris, please. Have the previous proposals for expanding the number of commissioners gone to public hearing?
I'd have to look back at the minutes. I don't know that we've had a proposal that actually went for the Charter Review Board that went to a public hearing. I'd have to look in the archives and see if it did. It's been discussed, I believe, with every Charter Review Board. I can't recall off the top of my head that it ever went that far.
Second question. Most of the comments that we have received have spoken to the issue of this is too rushed, and we all understand that we're rushed only because of the public noticing requirements. And it would be interesting to me to know whether, as I said, whether we have taken this up before the public, and they've actually had an opportunity in a public hearing to comment on it. So I would like to have the public have an opportunity to comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Johnson, I see your hand.
Are we still on the kind of asking Ms. Farris questions, or are we actually into the discussion? Because I'm ready to offer a motion to be able to get us in the proper posture.
Gotcha. We're just asking Ms. Farris questions at this point.
Okay.
Okay, is that your question?
Yes, sorry.
All right, no problem. Ms. Yates, you're recognized.
I meant to put my hand down because Ms. Delaverne asked the same question.
Okay. Let's see. I see everybody's hands up that has already spoken or asked a question of Ms. Farris. Ms. Farris, was there anything else you'd like to add before we move into the question here on the first proposal?
No, I have nothing further. Thank you.
No, thank you. We appreciate the work that you've done to get us these proposals in front of us here tonight. Mr. Johnson, seeing as how this was your motion at the last meeting and it was duly passed by this board, I'm going to recognize you first if you want to get us in the proper posture.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For a motion, I move that the Charter Review Board approve the draft resolution amending the county's charter to allow for 9 single-member districts and to allow for public hearings to consider this resolution on August 4th, 2020, and a to-be-determined date during the time frame of August 10th through the 14th, 2020. That's the motion, sir.
I'm going to second that.
Is that Mr. Scarola with the second?
It is.
Okay, folks, we've heard the motion. It's been properly seconded. Is there any debate? Ms. Yates, I see your hand. The floor is yours. You're recognized to debate.
I just wanted to go back to some of the public comment about how, which I agree with, and I think is a huge concern in this issue, is voter suppression. Ms. Berry brought it up at the last meeting. I think she's 100% accurate with that. Also, this goes straight into the me versus us mentality that I mentioned last time, trading favors for what's best for their district. Yes, we do have some commissioners who do work together as a whole, but we do have some that work for themselves. I also used the EPG as my example last time of how I think, which for what that's worth, of what single member districts would look like, but it was very much of what is good for me and who has the most political juice to get things done. That's concerning for certain communities. I also am really concerned about gerrymandering. I think that's an issue that is on the forefront of this. I also think there's some serious racially motivated things when it comes to voter suppression. That's all I have for now.
Of course. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
I just want to make sure you're technologically capable there, Mr. Chair. I just want to shortly say I agree with everything Ms. Yates said, but I want to add to that is we don't have enough time to delve into the issues she just mentioned. We are we've sat here and we're in a place where we've got to go so fast to try to get on the ballot in 2020. And while I understand that, what Ms. Yates is referring to are issues that are vitally important, that go to the heart of voter access and voting, and to vet those within a 2-week period that we have now, I don't think is acceptable. And I'm not going to vote for 9 single-member districts. One, because I don't like the policy, period. I served in the legislature, and I wouldn't like to see 9 single-member districts and the horse trading that would occur if we were to have 9 single-member districts. 1, 2, I'm not going to vote for it because the time, in my opinion, doesn't allow for us to do what we need to do. So that's just my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Shaw. Mr. Scarola, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. So y'all may recall that in our first meeting, I brought up the issue of South Hillsborough County and the lack of representation that a large part of the population believes that we have down this way, and originally started this discourse. I think what was very important here was listening to Commissioner Miller, who has years of experience with Hillsborough County, and his support of the 9-member district based on the population growth. In Hillsborough County, while we are number 4 in the top 4 right now for population, we're growing almost twice as fast. And the Charter Review Board only meets once every 5 years. Because of that, we have an obligation to make a move here. And I hope you all will take that obligation seriously. I recognize that we're in the midst of a global pandemic, but nonetheless, this has been discussed at the county commission level, and it affords the opportunity to continue the debate, the public hearings on the ability to get representation for everybody in the county. I'm not going to go back over the population numbers because Commissioner Miller did such a good job of doing that. My numbers were exactly where his numbers were. But I've said before, Hillsborough County is not compact. The geometric characteristics of our landmass are not conducive to large districts. I don't know if you can see this. Unfortunately, I can't see myself, but this is a district map. And for instance, somebody in the Cockroach Bay area of Hillsborough County is represented by the same person who represents Northeast Hillsborough County. And that's District 4. And the community needs are different in those two places. And it would be similar for somebody, say, in Apollo Beach versus Lutz, Keystone, Odessa areas. So Hillsborough County is not compact, and it would be appropriate for it to consider smaller pieces. Smaller pieces could fill in the puzzle better. Additionally, Hillsborough County, I'm seeing a wave from Edith.
Let's continue. I have a list here of speakers.
Okay, all right. Hillsborough County, by development services, is divided into roughly 19 planning areas. An increase in the districts will improve the commissioner coverage on a commissioner per planning area ratio basis. So 19 areas, the more commissioners, the more coverage a single commissioner can do. And then I'm going to add that it takes commissioners years, and many of you know this because you've been around the county for a long time, but it takes commissioners years to understand Hillsborough County's structure and its process. Being effective as commissioner requires an understanding of the details. a new countywide commissioner in, say, the Northwest County is not going to understand the details of the South Hillsborough community. So the closer we can get the commissioners to their represented geography, the better our residents are going to be represented. And then lastly, and this was brought up by one of our original public comments, and I went back and looked at it, and I think there's so much truth to this, and you all have heard it in your daily dealings in Hillsborough County. There's a term limit loophole right now in Hillsborough County, and this would help solve that term limit problem of individual district commissioners moving over into countywide positions. These are strong pieces of argument, and the county's growing very quickly, and we have little time. So I hope you'll consider that in your further deliberations, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
Thank you. Dr. Fox, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm only going to speak once, even though you said we could speak twice. And I wasn't sure when exactly to make these comments. So I'm just going to go ahead and make them now, and hopefully you'll remember them and carry them through the remainder of our discussions. Your points were very well made, Mr. Scarola, and there's no argument with those, nor with the numbers that Commissioner Miller told us about, and the way our county is growing, et cetera. As I look at my screen, and for some reason tonight I can't see everyone's face, but most of you I can see. And this was just random, the way this committee came together by appointment. But I look at the different perspectives that each of us are bringing to this discussion. We have legislative experience, we have attorneys, we have financial and accounting, we have healthcare management, we have just all sorts of land use management. And mine, you may think, is higher ed and mathematics, but I also bring something else. And that, besides the fact that I'm a fourth generation native of Tampa and Hillsborough County, I bring with me into our discussion about 30 years worth of experience with voter education and voter participation and encouragement. I think I've probably helped put together 150 to 200 public forums, workshops, televised debates, etc., over the 30-year period. And I can tell you that in the best of times, voter education is a heavy lift. Voter participation is a heavy lift. This is going to be at the end of a very long ballot. Many voters won't even go that far. They'll vote for the president and a few others and then move on and not consider it. The challenges you and I are facing tonight with technology and trying to communicate with each other, hear every word that we're saying and get our chance to speak. Can you imagine that for a large public forum of voters who are trying to have their thoughts known to us as a board? I believe that there are some significant issues that we need to address here. I believe this is not the best of times, and that we do need to consider talking about a 9-member district, a 9-member allocation for our county commission. And I'm personally not for the single-member districts. I would prefer the mix of at-large and individual, but that would just be my opinion. I would like to hear, I'm used to hearing voter comment, voter input, and we haven't had that, and I'm not sure that we're going to get the level or the quality of that input that we really want before we have a chance to vote and put it on the ballot. So that's all I'm going to say about that, and that's my perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Fox. Ms. Delaverne, you're recognized.
I can echo a lot of what I just said and what Mr. Shaw said. I look at the communication we're trying to have at Tampa General with 8,500 team members, and they are so overconsumed with everything that's going on in this community, I think this would be the very bottom of their list, but it's something that's really critical and important. And I'm just very concerned about the timing of this, of people even being able to get out, I mean, do the public hearings, which would may have to be, like you said, with technology or some in place. But the education part, and even, come November, what the voter turnout will be. I'm very concerned about the timing of it, whichever way we decide to go. So I don't know if we, as a group, do we vote? We want to move something to when we vote on one of these two amendments, whether we need to include the year it would go, or do we decide we don't want to put anything this year? And I don't understand the procedure of the timing and then deciding what we would want to present. But I'm just concerned about the timing.
That's a great concern. And right now we're just discussing the process for the 2020 ballot, not the 2022 ballot. And Ms. Farris, I see you shaking your head.
Yes, that's correct.
So you mean whether we are in favor of one or the other, if we do not want it to go on the 2020 ballot, we should vote no?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Ms. Stewart, you're recognized.
Mr. Squirrel, I had to wave because I have no raise your hand thing. I'm having technical difficulty tonight. I wanted to agree with many of those who spoke before me, but to add this fact, currently 4 of the members of the Board of County Commissioners live in the city of Tampa. Those are the people who are going to draw the maps for 9 single-member districts, and they will not be elected until 2024. So I think we need more time to sort out who these communities of interest are that might be served by these single-member districts. And I think it behooves us to have a much broader community discussion with more than one session. And I will be voting opposed this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Ms. Brian Spratling, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My concerns also align with Representative De Laverne and Fox, and certainly highlight some of the perspectives of Shaw and Yates as well. I have a concern primarily around timing, and that this does feel like a rush process, that we have such a short turnaround for public comment for any initiative. With this initiative specifically over the next initiative that we will discuss this evening, the difference for me is that this is the second initiative will be change. The first, or this initiative is really, really big change. And so if we were to be making any proposal for anything to go onto this upcoming ballot, I would not be in favor of something that is so significant, such a huge significant change with such a short turnaround and time for public comment.
Thank you, Ms. Brian Spratling. Mr. Mueller, you're recognized.
I think I have a question for Mary Helen. If I understand correctly, we're a 5-year board, and if we went to if we felt that going through the 2020 was too rushed, and we would think about the 2022, would this still be the board that would address that?
That's correct, because you can meet until February, so you'd have several months to get additional discussion and input. So it would be this board.
That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mueller. Representative Figg, you're recognized.
Thank you. My question is similar to the one that was just asked. Bearing in mind that we this board expires the first part of February of 21. For an item to go on the ballot in 22, you would have the public hearings in 2020 and perhaps in January of 21. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. And that's what happened with the 2010 Charter Review Board. There were proposals on the 2010 and on the 2012 ballot.
That's an awkward bit of business, but that's what we have to live with. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Wood, you're recognized.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I've always favored the 4-3, and I've thought about it, listened to a lot of comments, and I'm now swayed towards the 9-member district, mainly because of the size, and the difficulty of trying to reach your constituents. I got Commissioner Miller's message real loud and clear. And I talked to a lot of people too, and listened to some of the comments here. One of the things I heard was that if you want to go talk to your commissioner, everybody themselves seems to think they want to go to the one that's from their district. So I understand the beauty of being able to vote for the majority, but the reality is that the voter attaches themselves to the person that they think is their commissioner because it's their district that's represented. So I've moved off of my feelings about 4-3, and I definitely support the 9. And I do appreciate the comments about the discord that there's going to be. But I have seen the political process long enough to know that it's the best system in the world, even though we have a lot of discord. So I'm in favor of the 9 districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. You're recognized.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, thank you. Just want to make sure I raised my hand there a couple of times. Just kind of want to speak to overall comments that were stated here earlier from a lot of our members. And as I stated before, I am opposed of diluting the voting power of our district and the members within it, within our county, from 4 voices to one voice. And I want to make sure, and Commissioner Miller did state that we will continue to have that minority seat at 40%, and that the 29% of Hispanic representation is still not there, taxation without representation. So I'm still in favor of making sure that we increase the number of seats, continue to keep it at the 9, but I'm not in favor of the single member districts. I do want to make that comment as well. So that's where I'm at.
Ms. Berry, I have gone through and I see that everybody has spoken at least once. Mr. Shaw, I see your hand. And Ms. Bryant Spratling, I see your hand, as well as you, Mr. Mueller. I don't know if they are intended to be up or not. Just want to double check.
No, I did not intend to raise my hand. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Mueller?
Thank you. Just a quick question regarding the, as I understand the motion, is it to move forward the resolution also, or is the resolution just the draft resolution just for our information?
This would move the draft resolution into the actual resolution that would the public meetings would be, we would discuss at the public meetings and then finally vote on it the second.
Okay, so now would be an appropriate time to ask a question about the draft resolution specifically?
Yes, please.
Okay, one of my, and I may be misunderstanding this, but with this resolution, it says that the commissioner serving in District 6 would continue to serve the remainder of the term of December 6th, which I look at the pattern graph, and that looks like that would be 2022. I'm sorry, 2024 would be the end of the term. And with that being presently, number 6 being a at-large, wouldn't that for 2 years potentially put someone that is not in that District 6 in that office for 2 years?
I can't.
You recognize, Ms. Farris.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and I do want to make a comment on that. I spent quite a bit of time putting these together. The most complicated part of this is the transition schedule. So if any of these go forward, I do want, with the board's indulgence, some time to make sure that these are correct. because we don't want to displace a commissioner, and we have to have somebody duly elected. So this may be tweaked a little bit, but if I can, just once the board tells me what they want to go forward and do, I certainly would take another look at that.
Thank you, Ms. Farris. Mr. Bueller, did you have a follow-up question?
No, I did not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Johnson, I'm going to give you an opportunity to close on your motion, because I don't see anybody else's hands here. But first, I want to just quickly speak on the issue, as I was also appointed and have to speak on behalf of some of the citizens. First, let me start by saying that this is a good discussion that we're having. And I'm glad that we are in the posture that we're in to have a very civil discussion about a very serious issue. I've heard the public today and the comments that have come from the public, and I do believe there is a consensus on this board for us to move to 9 districts, whether or not it's single member or a 5-4 split or even a 6-3 split is what we're debating today. But it seems like we all recognize the growth in our county and the need to change that. That said, the concerns that I have about moving forward with either proposal at this point in time is that there's a couple of things. The first is we've got to have a legal review. We have that with our internal attorney, who's done a great job of drafting these proposals. But I have some concerns about whether or not we should have another set of eyes that comes in and makes sure that everything is okay before we take this to the voters. And the time frame that we've selected really doesn't give us a lot of time for that process. Yes, we could tweak it at the first public meeting, even the second one, but unfortunately, I don't know that that is enough in terms of the time frame. I want to be clear, though, that I do believe that regardless of what decision we were to make as a board, and it's, now I have to admit, some of the comments that I heard from the public, I think there wasn't a full understanding of how this process works, which is why I wanted Ms. Farris to reiterate that. But the public always has the final say. And that's been one of the reasons why I wanted us to have this debate tonight, because as you heard from Commissioner Miller, he brought this up on 2 different occasions in his time on the board. And we've had other members bring up changing the makeup of the board, other county commissioners bring up this issue as well, and it hasn't moved forward, which is why we were hoping that this board at some point, whether it's for this time or for 22, could take a look at this and actually put this power back in the hands of the people. Because I think the voters should be the ones to ultimately decide. If you read the preamble to our local constitution, that's what it says. You know, we want to govern ourselves through the power given us in the Florida Constitution. That said, we need to have a more thorough review of either proposal, and I am very concerned that the time frame that we have right now doesn't allow us to do that. Public input, we've heard some, but I think if more people were aware of where we were headed on this, that we would hear more support for 9 single-member districts. Personally, I believe that that's the direction that we should be looking at, 9 single members at some point in time. I just don't think that this is the right time for that. So that's what I'm going to say. Mr. Johnson, I'm going to give you an opportunity to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And first, I want to thank everybody for their thoughts on the resolution. Obviously, I don't agree with everybody, but that's exactly why we're all here, is to be able to discuss this in public so everybody can get an idea of where everybody stands on this. I think it's important for us to be able to do that. And I want to kind of go back to the very beginning of the discussion with Chairman Miller and his thoughts. And, you know, and I've been very lucky to have actually been able to have listened to him and talked to him throughout the years on some stuff. And he's made sure that I've been able to understand the process, and I've been able to watch him, and the way that he's able to lead and be able to come to an argument with facts the way that he did, I think is very important. The amount of information that he gave was a lot of the same information that I was going to use, so I'm not going to rehash that. I think that right now, we are in such a growth pattern right now that we need to be addressing this issue in some way. We're not going to be getting any smaller, and with the way the Charter Review Board is set up, we can only make these kind of changes every 5 years. So I think that we need to be able to move forward in some way. as far as having the single members, if it's in 2020 or 2022. I think that this is going to ensure that there's going to be better representation for citizens throughout the county. As Chairman Miller mentioned in his numbers, the amount of constituents that each single member commissioner now has to represent is getting to the point to where it's almost the size of a state Senate district. And it's becoming a burden, I believe, for some of the members to be able to deliver the kind of service that they want to be able to deliver. I'm not saying that any commissioner on the current board right now is not delivering great constituent service, but there's always the opportunity to be better. And I think that we should be proactive on this and not wait for another 5 years to go by. And then all of a sudden we're going to realize, oh, we probably should have done something about this 10 years ago when Commissioner Miller first brought it up. So I think that we need to be looking to be able to make bold changes, trying to be able to sit and just make little tweaks to the way the current board is by adding another single member district here and another single member or another county-wide district. I don't think is the option we should be looking at it. You know, I'm a proactive guy. I want to be able to try and get stuff done and try and make it happen, which is why I wanted to be able to try and get this on the 2020 ballot. Now, to everybody's point, I think everybody, as far as the comments that they made, they said this process was being too rushed with the public, as far as making sure that we had public comments. That's why I wanted to make sure my motion that we had the public hearings there for everybody to know. Now, that being said, and as far as the close, and I'll leave my close a little bit open, because I would be completely open, and because of the fact that I believe that this is the right way to go, to be able to go to 9 single members. I would be happy to be able to amend the motion to be able to have this on the 2022 ballot, because I think that this is the way that we need to be looking for the future, ensuring better representation and making sure that diverse needs are going to be able to be met because of the large community that we have. We have a lot of diverse needs, a lot of diverse populations, and we want to make sure that everybody's going to have an opportunity to be able to do that with, single member districts. I think that's the best way to make sure that the government is being brought back to the people. So the people are going to be able to have the opportunity to be able to vote for somebody that they know, that they can go into their office to be able to see. And as Commissioner Miller, said, to be able to have those kitchen cabinet meetings, so those are important for members. So if there is I guess an appetite to be able to amend the motion, I would entertain that as a friendly amendment to the motion. And with that, I'll close, Mr. Chair.
Okay. You've heard Mr. Johnson's close. Are you ready for the question? I don't see any debate. I did not hear. And Ms. Delaverne, I see your hand. I recognize.
My question is, if he amends the motion to 2022, then would we be able to delay the public hearings? They don't have to take place in August.
Mr. Chair?
There hasn't been a second, but that I'm aware of.
I can amend my own motion, Mr. Chair, correct?
You absolutely can. So we would be voting based off of the amended motion, which would be to move this proposal to 2022 and not 2020.
And that would mean that there would not be the rush for the hearings.
That is correct.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'll amend my motion hold on, I wrote down my motion. Hold on a second. I'll move to amend my motion to read that to the Charter Review Board approve the draft resolution amending the county's charter to allow for 9 single-member districts and for the resolution to appear on the 2022 ballot with the subsequent public hearings to be scheduled in the future.
Okay, you've heard the amended motion. Mr. Wood, I see your hand.
No, sir.
Okay, no?
No. No comment.
So folks, you heard the amended motion, which would move the single member district proposal forward to the 2022 timeframe. Is there any discussion on the amended motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, who seconded the motion? who seconded the motion?
There wasn't a second. He amended his own motion. The original second was Mr. Scarola.
Correct.
I see two hands, Ms. Yates and then Ms. Delaware.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to make sure we're clear that if that is a move forward tonight, that it's for 2022. I think that's a little premature at this meeting, but that's what I just want to make sure I said, that it's a little premature to think about 2022 right this second.
Ms. Delaware, your hand is down. Mr. Wood, I see your hand up.
Oh, I can't switch it off. Sorry.
Or technology, you gotta love it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other debate on the motion? The amended motion would move the 9 single-member proposal to the 2022 ballot with the public meetings to be determined at a later date. Are you ready for the question? All right, we're going to turn over the vote to the clerk of the courts.
Narain?
No.
Barry?
No.
Bryant?
No.
Was that a no?
A no.
Thank you. Delaverne?
No.
Fig?
No.
Fox?
No.
Johnson?
Yes.
Mueller?
No.
Scarola?
Yes.
Shaw?
Microphone, sir.
Sorry, no.
Stewart?
No.
Wood?
Yes.
Yates?
No.
Motion failed 3-11. Members Narain, Barry, Bryant, Delaverne, Fig, Fox, Mueller, Shaw, Stewart, and Yates voted no. Excuse me, 3-10.
All right, thank you, members. We're going to move right into the second proposal, which was made by Ms. Bryant. Ms. Bryant, I'm going to give you the opportunity to open on your motion for nine districts, but a 5-4 split, with 5 being single member and 4 at large. Ms. Bryant, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'd like to open this discussion. If this was in part a suggestion or a recommendation by legal counsel to have a separate motion to begin this conversation. I believed as the meeting was going last time, and continue to believe that there is a strong need for a robust discussion around the increase to 9, as well as the composition of the board. I provided this motion to give an opportunity for us as a board to discuss both proposals on equal footing, and to be able to allow for us to consider whether this should go to public comment.
Ms. Bryant, would you like to make a motion that we adopt your proposal? And is there a second to that? We'll need a second to move that forward.
Yes, thank you. My apologies.
No worries. All right, we have a motion by Ms. Bryant to adopt the proposal. Is there a second? I see Ms. Fig's hand. She is the second. Thank you, Representative Fig. Okay, we are open. The floor is open for debate. Ms. Yates, I see your hand. You're recognized.
Some of these comments were brought up in the debate over the 9 single-member districts. I wanted to remind the board of the oath that we took to look at the charter and what our job is in the charter on section 8.02, that such boards shall be empowered to conduct a comprehensive study of any or all phases of county government. I think that a lot of us went back after the meeting and thought long and hard about things that still need to be done. We all agree that there's population growth and that we need to address those in some form or fashion. But how do we do that appropriately without marginalizing certain communities is the main issue that I am concerned with. And Mr. Chair, you brought up something I've been thinking about too. I'm leaning towards this, to be open and honest. However, I have concerns too. And I think that we should have independent legal counsel look at these issues outside of the county and give us a memo to the board to let us know about how these communities won't be marginalized in this setup with the 4-5. And those are my main concerns. And I think that we need to think about that when we do our comprehensive study.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Any other debate? I don't see any hands. Mr. Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure that everybody's comments on the first motion, I think the recurring theme here was everybody was afraid that there wasn't enough time to be able to consider the motion, to be able to make sure that it was going to have enough public input, have enough public hearings, to make sure that everybody was going to know what was going on. And I don't see anything on this motion that is anything different than the first one. So if we are going to basically vote down a motion beforehand with the recurring theme of we don't have enough time to be able to look at it, and then now Ms. Yates also wants to be able to try and have another study to be done for us to evaluate it, and we're still going to try and consider this, that doesn't sound very good to me, and I'll be voting no on that for that reason. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate Mr. Johnson's comments because he said some of what I'm going to say, that I'm probably going to vote against this for the same reason I voted no, for some of the same reasons I voted no for the first time, because of the timing issue. And listen, we've had essentially 2 weeks of members debating this, and we've heard very generic kind of arguments about bringing it closer to the people and town halls and whether we're going to be like, we've heard just huge big picture stuff. And I am not comfortable that I have heard enough specifics to move forward into changing the composition of the county commission. I am leaning towards 5-4 if you were to hold a gun to my head, but I'm going to vote no just because I don't think I've had enough time and I've heard enough from the public. But we've heard really big picture arguments in favor of these two, but none of it, in my opinion, has gotten down into the weeds that I think we would need to get into to change the composition of the Hillsborough County Commission one way or the other. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Representative Ms. Dellaverne, you're recognized.
Well, Mr. Shaw said pretty much what I was going to say. I feel like the timing issue is just the same on this proposal as the other one, so I would vote no without having more information and more time to study it.
Thank you. Ms. Stewart, you're recognized.
I wish to concur with the other 2 previous speakers.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Mr. Mueller, you're recognized.
Not to be repetitive, but I also want to make it known that my vote will probably be no on this, but that is because I feel everything's being rushed on such a significant issue.
Thank you. Dr. Fox, you're recognized.
Yes, my point is also still timing and the rush, but I also want to keep in mind that this major reorganization would just negligibly impact a voter's influence on the Board of County Commissioners. What I mean is this: right now, 4/7 of the county commissioners would represent a constituent, and that's 57%. If we go to 5/9, that's 55.5%. So it's negligible difference. It's a tremendous amount of reorganization for such a small difference.
Dr. Fox, did you mention being a statistician earlier? Sorry. Ms. Berry, you're recognized.
Okay, I've listened to all the comments, and I know everyone is stating that we need more time. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I meant to say that. What does this comprehensive study look like? What are we looking at in order to move this? Potentially seems as if more favor for a 5-4. I just want to know, what does it comprise of, the comprehensive study? What are we going to ask the independent legal consult to give us?
I don't know if that's necessarily a question for Ms. Farris. I will, because I brought that up in the last proposal, I'll just say, I just like to have a second set of eyes on anything that we do as a county, just in case. And the concern is that with either proposal, that if we were to put it, we allowed staff to take it directly to the ballot, and then we find out later on that there was a flaw in the language that could open up ourselves to a lawsuit. When I say ourselves, Hillsborough County, for such a substantial change, that we would find ourselves having to go all the way back to the drawing board because we didn't take the time to have an outside counsel maybe take a look at something so significant. That was my logic. Mary Helen, I don't know if you had anything you wanted to add to that.
But no, the comprehensive study, as I understand the language from the original charter, it's just that you look at all aspects of county government, including all the articles in the charter. Certainly would include the districts of the commissioner.
Thank you. Ms. Berry, did you have a follow-up question?
No, that's all I wanted to know.
Thank you very much. Representative Figg, you're recognized.
Question for Ms. Berry, please. Let me make a statement before I pose my question. Palm Beach County, which is slightly larger than Hillsborough County and has slightly larger landmass than does Hillsborough County, has 39 cities. 39 cities. They've got a lot of government in that county. Orange has 13 cities. Hillsborough County has 3 cities. That's very different. So that makes the Board of County Commissioners the big kahuna for our county in terms of an elected office. Ms. Berry, would you entertain a motion to put this on the 2022 ballot?
That would have to be, you mean Ms. Bryant?
I beg your pardon?
Ms. Bryant.
Yes, I would entertain that that amendment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bryant. I'm sorry.
I'll start with B. Both start with B.
All of them look alike.
Valencia paying really good attention to what you were saying.
Yeah, I was ready.
Ms. Bryant, so are you?
Bryant, then I move to change the date for that this would appear on the ballot to 2022 and change the subsequent the public hearings to with that new date.
And Mr. Chair, I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Thank you.
So now the changed amendment allows us to continue discussing whether or not we would move a 5-4 makeup of the county commission to the 2022 ballot, not the November ballot. Okay, that is what we are still discussing at this time. Is there any more discussion? I see Ms. Delavern's hand.
My apologies, I forgot to take it down.
No worries. Mr. Wood, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would not be in favor of it at whatever the year because it doesn't solve the math problem that we've been dwelling on. Just adding one more commissioner that serves 1.4 million people doesn't solve a problem. And then one more that's at large doesn't dilute the ratio that we have right now enough. So I don't think 5-4 solves our problem, yet it dramatically increases costs, as we know. So I don't favor the 5-4 for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Figg, I still see your hand. I think that's from the last time. Anyone with a comment on this motion before we move to the question? Okay, I see Ms. Yates. You're recognized.
Mine is a procedure question for Ms. Farris again. If this is approved tonight, the 5-4, does this still allow time for independent counsel to look at it, for us to have a draft of the financial statement before it goes to public comment? We'd also have the census data in theory. I just want to get confirmation that approval of that would give us time to look at those things, Ms. Farris.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Yates. Thank you, Ms. Delaverne, I see your hand.
Did put it up. So I want some clarification on that. So we approve it, we get a chance to see the financials and everything, but then we've already approved it. So couldn't we just wait and see the financial implications for anything and then decide if we want to take something to the ballot? I'm just uncomfortable taking something without knowing what the financial impact is.
Yes, my understanding of the motion would be not to have it go on the 2020, but the 2022, which would certainly give the board enough time to have additional information, additional discussion, and public hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Delaverne. Any follow-up?
No, I will vote no just for the same reason I voted for the other. I still feel like there needs to be more discussion and everything before we make a final vote. Thank you.
Mr. Mueller, you're recognized.
Yeah, I think a procedural question, just being sure if this gets voted down today, does anything prevent it from either of these motions that we had today from being raised again a couple months down the road?
Mr. Chair, if I may, it does not. This is simply to set it for the 2020. The board still can look at both of these proposals for the 2022. Well, the other one was voted down, but it could be brought back up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Farris. Thank you, Mr. Mueller. I don't see anyone else's hands. I will speak on behalf of those who I've been asked to represent by serving on this board and not as chair. For the same reasons that I identified earlier, I would be very uncomfortable supporting this proposal because I believe we need to have more information in front of us. Although the time frame is good, we shot down a proposal earlier, even though we pushed the time frame back as well because we didn't have enough information. So I can't support this amendment to this proposal tonight simply because I don't think we have enough information to move forward. But it is something that I'm willing to entertain again in the future. Ms. Bryant, you're recognized to close here.
Thank you. My initial decision to bring this motion was based off of the conversation and the flow of the prior conversation that we were having, and my desire to be able to have two motions that reflected the two separate proposals that seem to be reflected in the majority of the comments of the board at the last meeting. And since that time, there has been a very robust conversation around the growth of the board. There seems to be a general consensus that the growth of the board is a question that should be taken to the public. And then there has been additional conversation around the composition of the board. The composition of the board that is in this proposal is the one that I favor out of the two at this point. I do believe that there is the opportunity for us to receive information that we've been asking for. As legal indicated, we could have a broad amount of information prior to this going to public comment. And I believe that we would have the opportunity to have public comment in a time that is not rushed, which was under the prior proposal prior to the friendly amendment. So with that, I would just close out to say that I believe bringing this onto the ballot at this time would allow for this question to go to the public. I see this as an opportunity to continue robust discussions. And I would say that as legal counsel indicated from their advice earlier, that we would have the two public comments and then have another opportunity to vote on this, so that there were 2 votes, the vote this evening and the vote after the public comment.
Thank you. Members, you've heard the close. We are ready for the question. I'm going to turn the roll call over to the clerk to initiate the vote.
Narain?
No.
Barry?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Delaverne?
No.
Fig?
Yes.
Fox?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Mueller?
No.
Was that a no, sir?
No, that was a no.
Scarola? All right, thank you, sir. Scarola?
No.
Shaw?
No.
Stewart?
No.
Wood?
No.
Yates?
No, for now.
Motion failed 3-10. Narain, Delaverne, Fox, Johnson, Mueller, Scarola, Shaw, Stewart, Wood, and Yates voted no.
As you heard the outcome of the 2 proposals, I want to say thank you very much for engaging in this process. We've had a very good, robust discussion. And, you know, government is painful, as we can see. And I don't feel any kind of way about this at all. I think we've had a very good discussion that I think the public would appreciate. And I say that because I know that this issue has been taken up by past CRBs. I don't think it's the last time we will see it. It may not be the last time future CRBs may see it. I do believe there may be an opportunity to get the county commission back involved. But before I go there, I'd like to ask if there's anything anybody would want to bring forward under new business. Nothing?
Oh, Mr. Chair, sorry, I was getting off. I too am still interested in 2 issues. 1, the Civil Service Board, and 2, speaking on the county administrator roles and that discussion that I asked to have earlier. Those 2 items I'd be interested in hearing about.
Yes, we will be definitely addressing both of those, with October being the county administrator month that she set aside for us. Ms. Yates, you recognized?
Yes, I wanted to bring up, we have had Mr. Ryan, I think I wrote down Barak, or Barak, I forget how he pronounces it. He has brought up twice in front of our board a request, and I want to make sure that we address that since it's now been asked twice of us.
Thank you. Yes. We will definitely be addressing that to the best of our ability. I want to be very clear about the Civil Service Board. That was a statutorily created board. And when it was removed by members of our legislative delegation through a local bill. So there is some question about whether or not Hillsborough County, through its charter, can actually address those issues. We're going to leave that up to staff to, discuss and research for us so we can have a comprehensive discussion about it. Just know that all of your constitutional officers at the time of its elimination were in support of that, removing the Civil Service Board at that time. So I just want to throw that out there, but we will definitely take a look at it. Dr. Fox, and then Representative Figg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to preempt your remarks. You probably were going in this direction anyway, but before we leave this, I really wanted to express mine, and I'm sure the entire review board's sentiments of gratitude to the staff for how quickly they were able to put these documents together, and especially how thoroughly they provided the data sets. And that was especially helpful to me, the data sets that we got to review to look at how we compared to other counties in the state. So thank you all very much for the diligence and the quick turnaround with which you performed this task.
Representative Fee?
No. I would echo what Ms. Fox had to say regarding the staff. I'm the one that made a request for a lot of data to be produced for the members, so I feel especially grateful for that. And I also wanted to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for guiding us carefully and thoroughly and with great grace. I have to say, it must be difficult with all the technical things that we go through for you to have this job. And thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old that keep me on my toes for situations just like this.
They've schooled you right.
They're still going to have to come in here and fix something. But no, thank you all very much for the kudos, and thank you to the staff. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Fox just reiterated, you all came back with some very good work product for us in a very short space of time, and we really appreciate that. So members, if Mr. Thrower were with us tonight, I would hand the gavel over, but I'm going to pretend virtually that I'm doing that. I would like for us to consider a couple of things. The first is, earlier tonight, the loophole that has existed on the Hillsborough County Commission for a long time now, with members going from single member to at-large and back, is something that I believe we should be taking a look at closing. I think we can do that through this process. Right now, it is unfair to the citizens because that was not the intent when these seats were created for people to jump back and forth. I also think it kind of tilts the playing field towards those who are already elected in terms of fundraising and other things like that, and limits new voices and progressive ideas potentially from joining the commission. I'm not going to make that motion tonight because we have about 6 minutes left on our scheduled time, but it is something I'd like for you all to start thinking about us addressing in the near future with our meetings. The other is, there is an opportunity for us, although we have vetted going to 9 members in different formats, to do as past CRB boards have done, and that is to write a resolution to the Board of County Commissions, encouraging them to take up this issue with the public again. This is within their authority. We all know that they could easily hash this out amongst the 7 and make a decision. They still end up drawing the maps. And I think the sentiment that I've gathered from this board without taking a poll here is that the majority of the board is in favor of going to 9. It's a question of the format. And so I would like our, this is my editorial content tonight, if anything, I'd like for our county commission to take another look at possibly doing that with the procedures that they've already outlined in the charter as a commission. But again, I just want to thank all of you for your diligence through this process, for working through this. And like I said, no proposals are dead. We just decided tonight that we were not going to move forward with these. You all have the ability to bring these forward again. We have a lot of information that we need to sort through, but the sense that I got was hearing more from the public and giving the public the opportunity to vet these over a longer period of time is what most of the members here want. So with that said, I'm going to ask if there's anything else before we move to the public comment. Mr. Brewer, is the individual waiting for public comment still with us?
Yes, to my knowledge, they are still on.
Okay. And I believe that was Miss Ione Townsend. Miss Townsend, are you still with us for public comment? You have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. And I think if I recognize the voice, that's the chairman is Mr. Narain.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't see you, so I don't know, and I came in late because of the confusion regarding the login.
No worries. And it's for your benefit that you can't see me. But you do have 3 minutes.
Is it you, Ed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I would like to congratulate you on the work of the commission and the review board, and to thank every member for serving. It is a public service and it's a volunteer work, and as a fellow volunteer in my organization, I appreciate that very much. I am a citizen of Hillsborough County. I live in Plant City. I'm one of the three. I live in one of the three municipalities, one of the two smaller ones. One of the things that has concerned me as a citizen is that so much of our county is unincorporated, and whatever plan that we come up with for representation of its citizens have to take into account that the majority of citizens of Hillsborough County live outside of a municipal area. But I also speak for the Hillsborough County Democratic Party, and we were feeling very strongly that this process was being rushed and that it needed more time for public consideration and comment and study. And so I applaud you for voting the way that you have this evening to give that time, not only to the review board, but to the charter review board, but also to the citizens of this great county. We are in the middle of a pandemic. We are in the middle of a census, and it seems prudent to wait until the pandemic is over and we have more data that the census will provide for us. And I think one of the things that Chairman Miller pointed out was that about 49% of the county, we believe, might be of people of color. And I think it is real important that we know exactly what that is, because, and the census should provide that data, hopefully. And because I think it's important that the Hillsborough County Board of Commission represents and looks like the citizens of the county. So that's a data point that's real important to have. I applaud you for taking the time and putting this off until 2022. But I would also just like to say to you all that the Democratic Party is opposed to 9 single-member districts for all the reasons that have been pointed out tonight in terms of the voter losing their voting power and their voice. So thank you. I'll keep it brief. I won't take 3 minutes. And thank you for all your hard work. And thanks for letting me speak.
All right, members, if there's no other comments from anyone here or any other questions, looking at the board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for your time tonight, and have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.